the recording. Alrighty, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Elissa. Elissa, how are
Hello,
you
Mike.
today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Mikey.
Super. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for being part of the show. Um, so today in this episode of the Founders Formula, we have a guest again, Elissa. Now, the reason why I was very captivated by what Elissa is doing is because she's having an impact on children and their parents. And I find it a very purposeful and powerful mission. And that's pretty much why I connected to Elissa to have a chat and to share a little bit of her story and journey. So, Elissa, how is your, so you are in Las Vegas, correct?
I am. I'm originally from New York. I was recruited here to Las Vegas as an expert in autism, and I've been here 20 years,
Wow,
making an impact on the city here and internationally as well.
very nice. And how is life in Las Vegas?
It's great. I
Mm.
don't leave my office much because I'm working so hard to impact so many families, but every once in a while I get to rummage out and explore the city.
So when you say impacting people's family, impacting family, tell us a little bit more about what do you do and how do you impact families?
How long do I have?
Oh, I guess as long as it takes.
Well, my name is Elissa R. Mandel or Elissa Renee.
Mhm,
I have an alias. We'll get into that later. I am the founder and creator of SpeechWorks by Elissa, also Your Child Can Talk movement.
mhm.
I have been in private practice for, gosh, 33 years. Yes, I started when I was 4. Um, and I myself was late diagnosed going for my third master's degree.
Mhm.
And so personally, I grew up with communication challenges and social problems and language and a learning disability and reading deficit and dyslexia. So I don't want any other child to go through what I went through. So I've been searching out the most progressive techniques for 30 years. And not only do I use them with my clients, but I use them for myself as well.
Hmm, that's very interesting. That's very powerful that you actually yourself went through like this speech kind of like speaking issues because I think it's quite impactful to hear people's story because often what happens is they go through a journey and then they kind of like become the people that they kind of like struggle in the past and they become someone that can impact other people's lives. So that's very interesting. So why did you start? So you said that what are the movement that you started? So you spoke about two, you're the founder of two business, is that correct?
Well, it's one business, SpeechWorks by Elissa, and that basically is where I seek out the most progressive techniques. People from different progressive companies
Mhm.
actually message me to trial out their new program or new equipment. So that's been great because then I don't have to seek things out. And after and then Your Child Can Talk specifically specializes on teaching parents techniques to be able to coordinate muscles to be able to talk. When typical children learn to talk, they learn through auditory feedback. So they see their mom, and then their mom has a ball, and they say ball, and they manipulate, I call them 6 muscle groups. So there's muscles for speech breathing,
Mhm.
there's muscles by your vocal cords, so some sounds vibrate and some don't. So that has to be
Mhm.
coordinated. There's also a muscle in the back of your throat that allows the air to go through the nose versus the mouth. All vowels, the air comes out of the mouth. There's 3 consonants that come out of the nose. So if you plug your nose and try and say the M sound, do
Mhm.
it.
So what do I, so
Plug
what do
your
you,
nose,
Mhm.
plug your nose, and try and say mm.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't
yeah,
do
yeah.
it. because the air comes through the nose. Then there's the last three are the lip, jaw, and the tongue. And so everything needs to be coordinated precisely in order to have intelligible speech.
Mm-hmm.
Typical kids, like I said, learn through auditory feedback, but kids on the spectrum or with other related disorders, they need other modalities to learn. So they have different learning styles and they may need visual prompts or tactile prompts or kinesthetic, where you're actually moving the muscle and physically prompting the muscle in order to learn how to coordinate those muscles. So most kids on the spectrum specifically have a speech disorder called apraxia. It's a motor planning disorder and they can't coordinate their muscles. And so that's what I do. What I do is pretty progressive. Um, I combine a whole bunch of different techniques individualized to each family. I also specialize in auditory processing, and auditory processing disorder is very common within the autism diagnosis. And that's where the brain can hear, so you're not deaf or hard of hearing. It's that the signals are not being processed by the brain. And so that is very common within the autism population as well. And so I basically push children through developmental milestones that typical kids will, using progressive treatment approaches. A lot of the parents that come to me have been to multiple providers and speech therapists before they come to me, and they've been told repeatedly by neurologists and psychologists and neuropsychologists that their child will never talk.
Mm-hmm.
And with the right tools, they can talk. It's just about education. And I humbly say I'm one of 426 with three certifications, but I have many more than that. So I'm pretty much the only one in the world that can do what I can do, and I just want to educate so many people.
Wow, that's a very I would say a very unique niche, right? It's like you said, 1 out of 400 in the world knows to do what you are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how did you come up? So, can you tell me a little bit more about your background? Because you shared a little bit about the background, but how did you come up to really become the I would say the doctor for children to learn how to speak again?
Well, that was a long road. You'll never believe it. So, like I said, I was late diagnosed. I always knew there was something wrong. I struggled. But when I found out about my diagnosis at the age of 28, I'm now 56, um, the the neuropsychologist explained that my performance skill, so my ability to put a Rubik's Cube together in 3 minutes flat, was really, really high, close to genius, and my verbal skills were well, well below. So I could put the Rubik's Cube together, but I couldn't tell you how I did it. So because I struggled not just with communication, but social skills, reading, they explained that my whole life I was able to be successful because I overcompensated for my weaknesses with my strength.
Mhm.
So in school, like growing up, I would always ask for help. That's something a lot of people have a weakness in. They don't ask for help, but I would ask for help continuously. I also was very cute. I say that in a humble way also. When I was very, very small, I was born premature. So I was very, very tiny. And so I always was teacher's pet. So I always had extra help from the teacher. Um, my body doesn't do well with any stress. It breaks down my immune system's really, really poor and low. So I would get so stressed out on the days of tests and actually not go to school and miss the test. So I would have to go after school one on one. So I was actually setting up my life for accommodations that I needed that I didn't know I needed until I was actually diagnosed and they recommended all those accommodations. When I when I graduated school, I went to I did not want to go to a university. I wanted to take some time off, let my body relax from all the stress of school. But my parents pushed me into a huge university, and I basically was failing out. The classes were so large, like thousands of people. I couldn't keep up. And I was failing out, and so I needed to find another college to go to. So
Mm.
why not apply to Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Clown School? So yes, I wanted to be a clown. And this is a true story. My family did
Ah.
not want me to go to clown school. They were afraid I was going to marry a clown and have clown babies and pet elephants. Um, so I came home and went to a community college where I enrolled in sign language because sign language was similar to miming. I thought I'd mime my way to success, and I excelled in sign language and asked the professor what career could I use sign language in that was lucrative and would make my family happy, and they directed me into speech language pathology. So that's how I became a speech language pathologist. I did not go to clown school, and that's the whole reason why.
Wow, that's pretty very interesting story. But when you say so at the age of 28 you were diagnosed. So what were you diagnosed with?
I was diagnosed with Asperger's. So Asperger's now occurring currently is considered autism. I was also diagnosed with ADHD
Hmm.
and a learning disability.
Wow, so you are not actually so is there a difference between there's some people born with autism and some people develop it? Is that correct?
That's a big controversy. There's a lot of controversies in the field. They're doing more and more research. Autism is a neurotype, and so they're working now to categorize it better. Right now, non-speaking children are lumped in with people like myself who can communicate, but it takes a lot of work for them to communicate. So it being lumped into one is a negative for a lot of professionals. So they're doing more and more research to find out. But there are clues, like I educate parents in what to look for from birth to 7 years of age,
Mm.
to see if they're a child. Now there's more education, and professionals are more educated, and we now hear, like back 10 years ago when I would ask people if they knew somebody with autism, maybe 1 out of 20 people would say
Mhm.
yes. But now every single person I speak to has somebody affected by autism or knows somebody affected by autism. Um, so there is a lot of controversy on whether um, what the cause is, but right now we know that it's a neurotype and that it's a spectrum. So it can go from high functioning or low support to high support and high functioning or low functioning.
Mm. And do you believe that over the years, since you started to become like a speech therapist, do you believe that over the years there is more and more people with autism than there was in the past?
I think it's a combination of both. Usually, my thought process is pretty progressive. They usually find out via research what I'm thinking 20 years down the line. But my thoughts is that um, it is definitely more prevalent now because people are able to diagnose it
Mm-hmm.
um, quicker. Like I said, I was diagnosed when I was 28, and that was in the 90s. So at that time, there were no resources. The only reason I was diagnosed that early, most women my age are just getting diagnosed in their 50s, because women tend to mask, and masking means they pretend or they're forced by their family to act like their typical peers. And so they
Mhm.
put on this mask, and it wasn't until a few years ago when I started on the journey to take my private practice to a global coaching revolution that I started to learn about masking. I had never heard that word before, and start my journey to unmasking. So at that time, it was during COVID. It was the first time I had time to watch YouTube. Um, it's the first time I had any free time, and on YouTube, Tony Robbins commercials kept coming up. So I reached out to a coach there, and that's when I started this journey of online marketing. I also reached out. I'm also, not only am I a speech therapist, but longer than a speech therapist, I've been working
Mhm.
with musicians as a promoter or manager. Or doing social media marketing for them. And so at the time, all the musicians were out from work too. So basically, as a therapist and a promoter, I was out of work. So I reached out. I kept seeing the first YouTuber in autism pop up on my screen. And I reached out to him and just said, "Hey, I have some extra time on my hands. Do you need some help? It looks like it's only you and not a team." And he immediately said yes, and we got to work. Our first meeting, I remember sitting down with him, like with a pen and paper. What can we do? What can we work on? And he just said, "Stop masking." And I was like, "What is masking?" And he's like, "Masking is when you pretend you're somebody you're not to please another person. And the research shows that it causes depression, anxiety, and burnout. So cut that out." So I there's no manual for unmasking. So I slowly learned. I actually suggested to him that we create a show called Masked Off Monday. And
Mhm.
every Monday for 3 years, we had renowned autism influencers on our show to interview them on how they got their diagnosis and how they unmasked and what their journey was like. And so I learned a lot from that show on how to unmask, and here we are today, and I'm talking to you unmasked.
Wow, that's amazing. And what, tell me a little bit, you just share a little bit for the people that are like, that maybe are not taking action and they kind of like haven't been diagnosed with. What is life like for someone that has autism, but that are sort of masking it because people tell them, hey, no, you're fine and things like that. What are some of the pain points that someone can go through?
Well, I can only talk about myself. I'm an adult as well as a therapist. I am an adult influencer, so I do help adults, especially females, to live daily life or give them advice on um, certain areas of their life that they can improve to thrive better. But for me, like I said, my performance skills were so high that I learned how to accommodate myself. Like, for example, I learned early on, and I think that's why I got so into the music career.
Mm-hmm.
Music is my special interest, so I absolutely love music. But I learned early on at the age of 16 that if I worked with music artists, I could get behind the scenes, backstage, behind the DJ booth, um,
Mm-hmm.
away from the general population. For a lot of adults on the spectrum, they're hypersensitive to lights or loud sounds. Some can barely leave their house. It takes a lot for me. I wear sunglasses to
Yes.
protect me and calm my nervous system. I also wear earplugs a lot if the sound is too much for my body to tolerate, because I know now that any stress, and we're not talking about the daily life stresses. We're talking about stress from lights or sound, can really affect my body to the point where I'm burnt out and I can't get out of bed for a week.
Wow. This is like it's something that it's wow, it's something that when you don't know, right? But when you listen and you hear from it. So tell me a little bit about now that you kind of like went through this part of your life and you learn how to manage it and to kind of like master your emotions and being able, yeah, I would say emotion and feelings. What would you recommend to sort of like someone that is like, how would you diagnose? Let's say if someone is watching the show now, a mom, a dad with their kids, what are some of the patterns that you can see or you can say, hey, you know what, look for that, look for that, look for that?
What are early signs
Yes, correct.
of
Thank you.
autism? Yeah, early signs, the earlier you get the diagnosis, the better, because the language learning years are between birth and 7 years old. We think about a typical child growing up, they start speaking in adult patterns by the age of 7. So it's really, really important to get that diagnosis early. And even when a parent is getting that diagnosis early, they have to go through a process of their emotions. They weren't expecting a child on the autism spectrum. They
Mm,
don't know what to expect. They're grieving. And then once they get out of that, they have to search for the right services, and the right professionals and the right doctors. So it could take years. So the
mm,
earlier the intervention, the better. Some of the signs are withdrawal. They tend not to have eye contact or not imitate sounds or are late to babble or cooing. I actually saw this video. I'll have to send it to you.
mm,
That Oprah was interviewing a therapist, and she was talking about how there's different actual crying sounds that mean a certain thing to a child. So a lot of kids that are later diagnosed, they will show minimal vocalizations. Um, there's something called object permanence, where you have an object and you take it away. They won't pay attention to that. So there are signs, but especially a new mother who doesn't have anything to compare it to, it's
mm,
hard for them to educate themselves. Um,
mm.
most most of my clients haven't been diagnosed until they're 4 or 5 years old.
Ah,
So they've been to multiple people over and over. And then I do have people that are, between 7 and 18 coming to me as well, and they're starting to get
mm,
a diagnosis. Those are the high functioning ones where it was hard, especially with females because they mask. It's hard to
mm, mm.
diagnose.
So do you believe that is it something that you people cure or something that people learn to live with?
What was your question again? I missed the beginning.
Is it something that that can be cured? Like, is there a cure for it, or is it something that people learn to live with?
No, there
Hi
is.
Ben,
Hello. No,
thank.
there is no cure. That actually is a very controversial word in the neurodivergent community. There is no cure. There are ways that there are things that can be done to improve your nervous system, to improve your focus, to improve your motor planning, to improve your auditory processing, to improve anxiety. But there is no cure.
Mm. And what are some of the pain? So we talk about the child and the pain they go through, but what are some of the pain that the parents themselves go through when they have the kid that is diagnosed with autism?
They get very frustrated, especially if their child is not diagnosed early enough. Um, they go through, like I said, a grieving process where they were
Mm,
expecting to have a typical child and now they have a diagnosis. So it's a lot of emotions, and they're not positive ones to begin with. I don't think
mm,
any parent is like, "Yay, I had an autistic child." Um, but they're more and more, we're hearing especially this year, we're hearing more and more about autism. I know a lot of my parents, like there are treatment approaches that I've been using for 20 years, and some of them are hearing things on the news now about certain supplements that might work and immediately going out to get those supplements when that information has been around for 20 years. And so I'm hoping in the next 20 years that things change and
Mm.
parents are educated while they're pregnant to prepare if their child is autistic so that they don't have to waste time helping their child.
And can you, so I think I asked you, but can you give me three predominant symptom like to look for? Three of them.
That would be lack of eye contact, lack of babbling or cooing, and lack of any interaction with the parent.
Okay, so those are things like pattern to look for in a child if, let's say, to kind of like sort of like understand that, hey, my son or my daughter may have autism. And let's say that if someone like has autism, like you said, like not everyone can kind of like cure or well, not cure, but help the child. So let's say if I take my child, I don't have any child yet, but in case when it happened, right? I take my child to the doctor. Can any doctor really kind of like work on a child with autism?
Can any doctor what with the child?
Can work on a child that has autism?
Um, it really depends. It depends which doctor you're going to see. Typically, a neuropsychologist will
Hmm.
diagnose, and you want a neuropsychologist that has evaluated autistic children or specializes in evaluating. And then a regular pediatrician back in the days had limited information. Now they're learning more and more. The most common thing, especially with boys, because they're late to talk, but parents would go into their pediatrician and say, "My son's 2 and doesn't have any words," and the pediatrician would say, "Oh, boys are late to talk. Don't worry about it." Now, more pediatricians are more proactive and you send them out for testing
Hmm.
um, to a speech therapist, and we'll give a speech referral for speech delay.
Amazing. And what are some of the habits that you have built around your life? Because again, it would be, I don't know how challenging it would be to kind of like launch businesses to grow the way you grew as a person with autism. So what sort of habits have you developed in your life to get where you are?
Wow. I learn more and more each year to better myself, but the most important thing on a daily basis, the most important thing is self care. If I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of anybody else. So if
Mm.
I can only do 3 things in a day, and that's to feed myself, drink water, and to relax my system, those are the 3 things, and it was a great day. Um, Obviously, those aren't the only 3 things I do per day. But if I need a day like that, I do take a day like that. So self care is number one for me. And then I need a lot of structure.
Mm.
I'm really good at building teams. So I've lost count of how many teams I have, but I have teams on teams on teams. So I have teams to help me with the parents and teach parents and help parents. I have teams of people that work with me behind the scenes. I have a graphic team. I have a production team. I have I call her my chief of everything. Shout out to Shanna Lee. She basically sets my schedule, structures me, sets up appointments. She takes care of, like I said, she's chief of everything. She takes care of everything, and she makes sure my teams are running well too and communicates with them.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Elisa. And another, I had a question in my head that from the beginning when we started, and actually, my brother was diagnosed with ADHD, right? So
Mhm.
to me, I'm like, just chill, but I want to have an understanding of like, what is it life as well, living life with ADHD? What does it feel like? What symptoms and those things?
You mean for adults?
Yes.
Yes. So with ADHD, it's a different neurotype than autism. With somebody that has both, it's like one side of the brain is fighting the other side. So if it's ADHD and autism, the symptoms are more severe, I would say, or there are more symptoms. But with ADHD alone, it's not being able to focus. If it's hyperactive, they're more impulsive. There's also inattentive type, which is what I am. They don't pay attention. So like growing up as a child, I would walk in front of a bat or walk in front of a swing. I'd spill drinks all the time. I still spill drinks. Um, but with ADHD, there's also something called rejection sensitivity disorder. So they don't take rejection very well. They've
Oh.
found that they typically have low dopamine, so having motivation is very, very hard.
Ah, okay. So that's why he's like kind of like short temper. He doesn't like when I say anything to. Okay, fair enough. I get the idea. And the next question is, what sort of impact have you made on families so far?
Wow, that's a big loaded question. So typically, like I said, what I do is unheard of. And so
Mm.
over the last 33 years, I've never had to market. Everything has gone through word of mouth. So most parents that come to me, they have already seen another child progress significantly or have heard that I'm able to do the unheard of. And so they're open to change. They're open to my unique and progressive recommendations. Other parents, like I said, I've been over the last few years transitioning to a global online marketing business where I'm coaching parents, group coaching and individual coaching, rather than giving them therapy. And I know when I started the journey, like my coaches said that you should be advertising or you should be growing an organic audience on social media or you should be starting affiliate programs. But realistically, what I've always thought in my gut is that I am going to have to talk on stages, talk on podcasts like yours to get the word out, to show people what I actually do. Yes, social media videos, there are clips on what I can do, but it really doesn't show exactly what I do. And so for parents that have been told repeatedly their child's never going to talk, and then somebody says, "Hey, I have a magic wand to make you lose 30 pounds in one day." It's very hard to convince parents who are strangers or not referred to me through word of mouth. Did that answer your
Mm.
question?
Yes, yes, yes. So do you think that some child that grow with this, like if they don't take action, they might end up living their life with autism forever?
Well, they'll always have the diagnosis of autism, but it's about whether they're going to need low support for the rest of their life or high support. And so the idea for me is to coach parents into moving their child from needing such high support to being more independent and just needing a little bit of support. An example, like one of my very first clients, and this was in the 90s. um, I evaluated a client and they matched me because I was fluent in sign language. And this client the doctor told them that he would never talk and to try using sign language. And he was very successful in sign language. But for me, I teach motor planning, and it doesn't matter if it's a muscle for talking or a muscle for writing or a muscle for dressing or a muscle for pointing. It's all the same part of the brain to stimulate. And so I knew if he could sign and move his big muscles to communicate, he could with the right approach. And at that time, we didn't have the progressive tools that we have now. So I was able to, when I went in there, his mother happened to be in the field. And so she was very well educated. And after I did the evaluation, I recommended no more sign language and to teach him how to talk. And I had an excellent prognosis for him. She could not believe it. And my response was, you can give me a month so you can see the progress and how my recommendations will work, or I can refer to another therapist that will reevaluate. And she went with the trial run, and within a month, he was saying his first word. I am happy to say he is my social media friend. So I have been keeping in touch with him. Gosh, it's got to be over 28 years. But he has graduated college. He is working in the university, helping other people. He's able to talk. It's not as intelligible. The speech is not as intelligible as I can make it now due to the progressive tools that I have learned about. And back then I wasn't teaching reading and writing, so his reading and writing skills aren't as advanced as they could be in this day and age with the progressive tools that are out there.
And let's say if someone goes from, how long do you think? I guess it depends case to case, right? But if someone like start working with you, how long do you kind of like the time frame that you give yourself to give the person some results on its therapy and the speech?
That's a good question. Well, everybody's an individual, first of all. I don't, have you ever watched The Good Doctor?
No. I think so. The Good Doctor?
Mhm.
I think so. I don't remember.
Yeah, he's an autistic doctor. It's a character on TV, and but when he does surgeries, he actually can see the muscles and the beginning of surgery to the end of surgery. So for me, I see things in pictures that way as well. So as soon as I evaluate a child or look at a child, I can see what their progress will be if the recommendations are followed. So I can give a prognosis, but with anything, if
Mhm.
an individual who is getting coaching is not following through on the recommendations, they're not going to get progress. I actually stop seeing. I do give tries to parents that aren't willing to follow through because everybody has a busy schedule or recommendations. But for most of my parents, they know I have a long wait list, and so when they get in, they want to follow every recommendation because they've seen proof from other families that it will work and their child will make progress.
Wow. And I do have a question. So do you
Oh,
have
can I
go
mention
for
one
it,
more
sorry,
thing?
go for it.
So typically, it depends on the level of functioning for the client. So typically, um, it's about 6 months to a year before I'll see the progress that the child. But most of the parents want a magic wand and want to go from non-speaking to speaking, which is not possible. I can't move faster than typical development, and as we said earlier, a child doesn't develop adult patterns until they're 7. So I can't teach a parent how to progress their child from 0 to 7 in 6 months. So it is a long-term commitment, and it really depends on the level of functioning. Like for example, if it's a mild, lisp, that could take 3 weeks to 6 months. But if it's something severe where the child has severe motor planning dysfunction, then it takes more repetition and time.
So thank you so much for sharing this. Very, very, very captivating actually. And when it comes to the teaching, enfin the like therapy, so you give the therapy sort of like to the kids and the parents, right?
Uh, it's actually more parent geared. I am involved in working with the child. I do train the parent or coach the parent on what to do at home. I
Mhm.
do recommend tools that they should use, and I show them how to use it, and they'll give me video feedback. I've been trying to, most parents are like, I wish you were in my home 24 hours a day. So I set up my coaching to be as close as I can to that. Maybe in the future, they'll wear some kind of glasses where I can actually watch what's going on and give them,
Yeah.
play by play coaching at the exact moment. But for now, I wake up to videos and messages and questions, and I'm on call for my parents 24/7. Of course, I'm not up 24/7, but as soon as I can, I get back to them. But most of the time, a lot of people have said, why do you tell parents you're available 24/7? You're going to get phone calls all the time. And be too busy. I'm like, no, because if I'm training a parent in the right way and coaching them in the right way, then I should not have to get phone calls. And that's the majority of the time. Most of the communication with the parents are videos saying, look, she said mommy, or look, she said I love you.
Yeah.
So that to me is the most rewarding part of this. And, right before COVID, I had considered retiring. And a lot of my parents were like, no, you can't do that. It would be such a travesty if the rest of the world didn't see what you can do. So that's what I've been on a mission for a few years, but for the last year, getting the coaching program up and running so I can reach more families worldwide.
Wow, that's a very powerful purpose, you know? It's a very
It
powerful,
is.
yeah. And
I am so
I think,
lucky
mm,
to have a career that changes lives and makes me so happy.
wow. So I do have a question talking about purpose, right? Do you believe that everyone has sort of like a purpose, that something they are meant to do in life?
Can you repeat that question?
Do you believe that everyone has a purpose or something that they are meant to do in life?
That's a tough question. I often feel like Forrest Gump. Have you seen that movie?
Yes, yes, yes. This one, yes, definitely.
Yeah, I often feel like I accidentally get these amazing things that happen and I'm not even trying. It's been like that my whole life. And
Mm,
I now that I know the information that I know now, it's because my performance skills are so high that
mm,
I can like situate myself in the right place at the right time and get an opportunity. So I am very grateful that I have a life with such purpose,
mm.
that will significantly impact this world, not just today, but for generations to come. But I hope, my wish is that everybody finds their purpose because it's the most wonderful feeling in the world to be able to help another human being.
Mm. That's amazing. And when it comes to the coaching business, so you said just earlier that you kind of like started a year ago to move it online, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how do you, and you said you don't really use marketing because it's a lot of word of mouth. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. I feel like the best clients are through word of mouth because they already know somebody who has made the progress. It's
Mhm.
very hard to compete with other professionals who say it can't be done. And so that's why it's, like I said, it's hard to put out an ad and say, I can change your child's life and make you talk without spending, ads are supposed to be a couple of minutes, if not a couple of seconds long to catch somebody's attention. But, you know, I can't say I can make your child talk and that's my ad. Um, they really have to see it. Like I said, it's like telling somebody I can make them lose weight in a minute.
Mm,
It's unbelievable. So,
mm.
but it's been a real learning experience for me. Learning has been always a struggle, like I had said. And so my first coach were Tony Robbins coaches. And
Mhm.
they said that you're basically not ready. You have to change your mindset. I wasn't at that time 3 years ago, wasn't comfortable in front of a camera. Um, and then there's a woman here, Christine Morel. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
No.
She has pink hair. She was a music coach for, gosh, over a decade. I have been collaborating with her for my music career, and then a few years ago, she decided to start working with all business owners, not just in the music industry. Um,
Mhm.
she she's pretty famous for her laugh my ads off. So yeah, so she gave me significant coaching for a year, taught me how to write ebooks, how to set up a membership, how to film my courses, and basically prepared me for. Have you heard of ClickFunnels?
Yes, of course. Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. She prepared me for ClickFunnels. So at the same time, I mastered my mindset. With Tony Robbins, they have referred me to ClickFunnels at the same time she did. And when I started with ClickFunnels, I had everything ready. I had my courses, I had my ebooks, I knew what a funnel was. I was so prepared, and I enrolled in the 30-day challenge
Mhm.
and thought in 30 days I'm going to be helping everybody around the world. But by day 24, I learned how to put my logo into the funnel. And by day 28, I learned there was a help desk. So the 30-day challenge is absolutely amazing. But for
Mhm.
somebody who needs one on one attention and needs something explained to you 100 times before they learn it, that group coaching atmosphere was very challenging for me. So they
Mm.
referred me to another coach. I seek out the best coaches. As I said, I'm not afraid to ask for help. And
Mm.
shout out to Danny Walsh. He is just an absolutely genius when it comes to funnels. I believe he's the fastest funnel builder in the world, but he sat with me and my chief of everything and gave us like a lesson a week, video recorded it, and then my chief of everything would sit down with me and show me, teach me. I do have motor planning difficulties, and teach me how to, like, what buttons to push and how to create
Mm.
a funnel. And so that experience, because if I was able to do it, then I can teach anybody else to do it. So that has inspired me to want to build a neurodivergent marketing university, because the unemployment rate for autistic adults is so high. I think it's
Mm.
over, I want to say over 50%, well over 50% of adults are unemployed. I know
Wow.
myself from my experience, my first job was um, where I was employed, and I had to be at work Monday through Friday from 9 to 3 every day. I did not do well with that structure, but I quickly found out that I could accommodate myself if I was self employed and I was my own boss. So there are a lot of adults out there that don't even know how to get started with self employment.
Mm.
And by teaching them marketing skills, I mean, that's the wave of the future.
Mm.
AI, learning how to build funnels, learning Canva, learning graphic design. And like I said before, a lot of adults don't like to leave their house because it's too overstimulating. And that's something you can stay at
Mm.
home in front of a computer and do. So, and there aren't a lot of universities or programs geared specifically to adults. I'm working with right now, I'm collaborating with a lot of other agencies that are on the same mission, and we're working together to get this out there as soon as possible.
Mm. That's amazing. And what about the formula? So I wanted to point out something where a week ago when we had a chat, you kind of like sent me a list of the podcasts that you kind of like going to go to speak to different on different show, different platform. And I find it very, very I believe it's a powerful way to to grow your business, like exposing yourself, going to different podcasts, different platform. How did you come about the idea initially and reaching out to other people for joining their show?
Well, this goes back to what I was saying before about transitioning my private practice to a global online coaching program is I was first told that I need to build my social media
Mhm.
to gain trust with people and get the information out. I was also told to get ads and to start affiliate programs. But for me, in my experience, and that was my gut feeling when I was being told that's the best way to reach people, my gut feeling said the best way to reach people is to be standing in front of them or visually in front of them and talk to them directly to gain that trust and understanding. And so I went on a mission. The other thing is, like I said, my verbal skills are very, very, very low. It's very, I know I'm talking to you and I'm answering your questions, but word finding for me is very difficult. And my receptive skills are so much higher than my expressive skills. So I'm sometimes misunderstood. Um, and so by talking directly to people, not only do I get to build trust directly with an audience, but I also get to practice. So for me, more repetition on and being on more podcasts gave me more confidence. I'm still gaining confidence. I just enrolled, I don't know if you saw it, in the Next Top Speaker
Mhm.
tournament. And I just started their mastermind, and it's only been a few weeks, and I have learned so much about speaking on stage and how to talk, and it's really helping me to become more of a strength than a weakness.
Mm.
And I need that in order to be able to gain other parents' trust or clients' trust.
And what's the vision that you what do you visualize for the future of yourself and your business and the impact that you want to make? What's the vision?
The vision is to get everything out of my head and documented and help as many families as I can and train the next generation so I can at least rest a little.
Fair enough, fair enough. And you also said something earlier. What was that?
I
I
said a
lost it.
lot earlier.
Oh, I no, no, I remember, I remember. So you said that you actually, so do you have an ebook yet that is out?
I do. I have several ebooks. I have one ebook that is a checklist for
Mhm.
developmental milestones in motor skills, auditory skills, play skills, socialization skills, so they can check off if their child has met that milestone. And if they haven't, there's a lot of checklists out there. But what I add to this checklist is I give tips
Mm.
or say when it's important to talk to your pediatrician about it to help move their child through the milestones. I also have an ebook, top 10 progressive tools that I use.
Mhm.
And give information about them and how they can be used to help prompt their child's muscle in the right place. Like for example, there's a horn, like I talked to you about 6 muscle groups that are important, and the most important one, or one of the most important ones, are speech breathing. They're all important, but speech breathing. So there's a simple horn hierarchy kit, and each horn, there's 12 horns in the kit, and each horn gets harder and harder to blow. So it's kind of like going to the gym and increasing your weight a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And so that develops speech breathing for being able to talk. So if you feel in front of your mouth and talk, say something to yourself and feel
Okay,
in
so
front of
I
your
speak
mouth.
like that, okay?
You can actually feel puffs of air, streams of air. So they really have to coordinate those muscles to be able to get the right airstream out.
That's interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. And let's say if someone wanted to kind of like work with you, learn more, where can they get access to those informations?
For if they have a child that
Mhm.
needs help learning how to talk or thrive, that would be at yourchildcantalk.com, or you can find me on pretty much all social media platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, at SpeechWorks by Elissa. To
Mhm.
follow my adult journey and as an adult influencer, they can follow me at It's Elissa Renee, both
Mhm.
on Facebook and YouTube, Facebook and Instagram. And then I do have a YouTube channel
Okay.
that's called The Neurodivergent Marketer.
Okay. Well, I will have to you will have to send me all those links because I want to put it on our interview. I do believe that I went through all whatever. Okay, 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 okay. Um, the last thing that I want to share is, can you recap three things that someone needs to look for if their child has autism? Like, I know we spoke about it, but it's the last point that I want to mention. So 3 things that they can look for.
For children
Yes.
undiagnosed, they would look for lack of interaction, lack of eye contact, lack of a delay in speech or motor skills, a delay in feeding. I could go on, the list goes on and on. I do have a checklist for everybody.
Super. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time, Elissa, and your knowledge and your journey. I find it very inspiring. And Ben, by the way, as well, thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. This was captivating. Alyssa, what amazing work. Thank you so much for being willing to share this with us all and for the work that you do with those families. Just so thrilled to have been able to sit here and listen. Thank you so much.
Hmm.
Thank you, Ben, for that compliment. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for being here today.
It was definitely powerful, and that's actually why I like to do those talk, right? Because you learn so much from the people, you learn so much from anything. So tomorrow when I have a kid, I have a dog, I don't have a kid yet, so I don't think she has like any autism. But when I have a kid, I will kind of like have an understanding of, yeah, well, hopefully I don't have to call you because that would mean there's a problem.
No, you can call me if there's not a problem. Being proactive is the best thing. You want to nip
Mm,
things in the butt before it's a problem. So it's always good to get advisement, even if you think
mm.
it may be a problem or it's not a problem, but you're a little worried.
Fair enough. Well, I'm very grateful for your time. So what will happen from here is I will share your interview on the website. I will also write a blog article where I can send to you, and the YouTube channel and the TikTok. Now, as we grow, then obviously there will be more visibility, more people kind of like understand, having a look at like what we are doing. Because at the end of the day, it's all about making the impact and helping others however we can, right? So
Yes.
thank you so much for your time, Elissa.
Thank you. It
Yes,
was such a
pleasure to meet you.
pleasure. You
Yes.
make it so comfortable to speak to you, so thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and I'm looking forward. So I'm going to interview as well Ben very soon, and I'm also very looking forward because I saw his clip. A little bit of the story. I like to, when before I interview someone, kind of read their story and see. It's very powerful and very interesting. So, anything else you wanted to add on the show, Elissa, today?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. Thank you so much.
Super. Thank you so much. And I guess, well, much love. Thank you very much, guys, for joining. And if you want to listen more about the interviews that we are doing, helping other people, making an impact, that's the idea, that's the dream. I'm looking forward to see you again, everyone. Thank you. Cheers, guys.